become the person she is, and she was told in a vision in certain ways that she was going to be the next one who take over and initiate these 5 children that she was going to find. So it was already planned basically when she was a young child, right? And then also you find out that she's the heritage of the true throne of Hawaii. So she's not only an high priestess in a way, a kahuna, she's also the rightful heir to the throne of Hawaii, which she never reveals, but because of that, she's a very good friend of the governor to Hawaii, and he and she plans this plot so the children can understand what it is to really. So she plays like she's an old, wicked woman, and yet people feel around her that she's always ahead of them. So it's always this mysterious around her. You know, on one level she seems like an old fragile woman, and then sometimes she says things like, and so everybody feels like they're in front of a master, and at the same time she's an old fragile woman, right? So she and the governor puts this plan together. And so it's a very uplifting story.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then it's also the spirit of the, because when Hawaii, when they build the hotels in Hawaii on Maui specifically, the Royal
Hawaiian.
No, not the Royal.
Royal Kona.
Ritz-Carlton. They build it over sacred burial grounds, which of course is a taboo. Now these huge spirit warrior, 12 feet tall, appeared among them.
Yes.
And said,
I've seen them.
this is a no-no. You won't have a hotel if you don't tear this down and redo it so it won't be on the sacred burial grounds, right? So the true understanding of the Hawaiians, they understand there is a spirit that is very alive. And the spirit warriors, there are places on Maui where the needle point is. It's a valley. There used to be battles in the olden days. And my friend, who's a 9th generation kahuna, he used to take us into this valley. And he said, don't sit on that rock, because there's still a spirit warrior there. And he put tea leaves around their ankles. And we asked, I said, why? Because they will protect you against certain spirits in here. And so this is not just an idea or a concept. This is very real.
Oh, I'm with you 100% on that. I'm familiar with the islands.
Right.
I'm familiar with the power of the islands.
Right.
I'm familiar with the giants in the islands.
Right.
On Kauai, there is the place where they say with the hula, which is an incredibly sacred dance.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just kind of wiggle here, wiggle there.
Right.
It's a sacred dance.
Yes.
And they were talking about the giants, and I had not heard about it at that time. And I was in my room. We were right near the ocean, and I just sat down, and I was just kind of sitting down for the night. And all of a sudden, I feel this energy, and I hear this sound, and I feel this boom, boom. And I was like, and what I saw was the table shaking, me shaking like this, and I heard, and I was terrified. When they passed from the mountain and came through me and went into the ocean, I was shaking. I was petrified. I knew, I said, here they are. Here's the giants. And they went and they passed through. And I was like looking around like, anybody see that just happened here? But the feeling, the power, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
I have so much respect for the land and the islands.
And it's interesting because I had a woman who was given the gift to see 13, your most important 13 past lives. And she told me that cool. I was one of the founder of Hawaii, in a sense, and we sailed from Samoa and we found the islands, and I was a woman in that lifetime. But one of the first set the foot in Hawaii, because I've always had this. I came to Hawaii the first time in 1968.
Wow.
Where Honolulu was still only coconut town. There was no high-rise buildings.
That's very cool to see.
Waikiki was still a huge white beach. and there was like little bridges
Wow, that
and
must
you know,
be
and of
cool.
course he was singing tiny bubbles in the wine down hole. And so, and first time I felt close to Hawaii when I saw South Pacific in Sweden when I was 13. And it was in Kauai, right? I felt this
Wow.
calling. And I, of course, I didn't know I was in Sweden, you know.
Isn't that interesting? It's so cool. It's like it's such a. How did
Well,
you even think of that concept of something like
but
that?
look at Eros's skin too. It's
Well,
like
I
he
am.
doesn't look like a Swede. He looks like
And
he's
so
dark.
so then when I moved to Hawaii, I was initiated several times into the islands, where basically they showed me, this is not just a pleasure place. You want to embrace the energy here, we're going to put you through some tests, which they do. And because I kind of went through this test and came out on the other end, Hawaii is very much part of my energy, right?
Did you get permission to write this book because of these experiences? I mean, was there
Well,
some...
I couldn't written. First of all, this book could never come into being if I hadn't been initiated into this, because I showed a person who lives in Reno, Nevada, who is a Hawaiian, and he read the book, and he said, "You're right on. You're really right on what you've been talking about," because I didn't want to say things that will offend the Hawaiians. I don't want to talk about certain things. So, but I wrote it when I lived in Hawaii, and so it's not just a book; it's an energy that will allow people to embrace Hawaii again.
Beautiful.
And it's perfect for children, because these orphanage, they are really empowered to find their truth. And one is a hula dancer, and she suddenly says, I'm in a conflict because I cannot just dance for the tourists in Waikiki. On one level, I adore the hula dance, but the commercialized aspect of it I don't like. So she is in a conflict, right? There's a young man who is a surfer dude who surfs these giant waves, and he's a poet. And he says it's easier to surf a giant wave. I can somehow handle that fear, but to find that thing inside of me that I've been hiding from being an orphan, I need help with that one, right? So each of these 5 has a characteristics that is very personalized and can relate to almost any children. And then there's a dolphin man who lives in the ocean with the dolphins. So he's taking this young man as a surfer, his name is Akai, taking him at one point into a different world, in a different dimension. And so he has this immense experience, right? So everything that they encounter is helping to solve the mystery about the stolen deed and how they come into their true nature. And then around their neck, they have had each letter of the symbol of aloha, A-L-O-H-A, right? Around their neck. So one of them had A, the other one had O. So, and they had never thought about it, but they didn't even remember how they got around their neck.
It's just
right?
the first initial of their name.
They just know it, right? Aloha nui, akai, holo olo, and ahaha, so it's all the different, so their name